Guys, it's Life Coach Robin May, and I am so excited that so many of you have decided to join with me as I share the 7 strategies to living your life intentionally and fully engaged. Last week, I shared the first 2 in the 7-part series, and now I'm ready to dive into number 3 and 4. But before I do, I wanted to answer 2 of the many questions we received. The first question came from Alicia, and she shared this question in our Friends with Vision group, and I thought it was an excellent question, so I wanted to share it with all of you. She said, Robin, what happens when you want to finish strong, but something has happened that just threw everything out of whack? You had these plans and you had these goals, and it looks like you aren't going to be able to accomplish those goals. Can you still finish strong? Can I tell you, when I first got that question, I had to take a moment and really think about it, because that's real life. I mean, what happens when you have all these big dreams and these big goals, and as we get closer to the end of the year, we aren't making it, or we aren't completing the goals that we thought we were going to complete? But you know, as I thought about it, I realized the truth is we make the plans, but it is God that orders our steps. And as we strategize and as we try to get everything in line, I always say, write it with a pencil and give God the eraser. All we can do is do what we know to do. And then we give it to God. We hold all things loosely, and we trust Him to round out the edges, to smooth things out, to stop things, to start things. We have to trust Him. So if things aren't going the way you intended for them to go, this is a great time for you to stop, lay it all at the feet of the Father, and ask God to tell you, okay, so what do we do now, even if that means being still? Finishing strong means finishing in line and in order with God's will for your life. So if He pushes pause, you don't want to move forward without His grace. Okay, that was question 1. Now this is question number 2, and this came from a really good friend of mine, and she said, Robin, listen, you are always using the word intentional. Really, what does intentional mean? You're telling me to live my life intentionally and fully engaged, but what does that look like? Can I define what intentional really means? Intentional is an action performed with awareness, deliberately, and on purpose. Oh my gosh, can you imagine if we lived our life like that? Can you imagine if we lived our life with awareness, deliberately, and on purpose? And so when we're talking about living intentionally, I really want us to do everything with awareness. We don't want to just go through life by the seat of our pants. We don't want everybody else determining what happens with us. My husband always says that those who are reactive will always serve those who are proactive. I want you to be proactive in your own life so you aren't serving the whims and the desires of everybody else. All right, so if you had those same questions, if you wanted to know what happens if my life gets turned upside down, can I still finish strong? And if you wanted to know what in the world does intentional mean, I hope that helps. Keep your questions coming. I love interacting and dialoguing with each of you. Okay, let's get right into it. Here is number 3 to the 7-step process for living intentionally and fully engaged. Number 3 is you must acknowledge what comes naturally to you. If you're going to live your life with purpose, if you're going to be intentional, if you're going to be fully engaged in your life, you have to acknowledge those things that come naturally to you. Often, many people are missing out on what their purpose is because they are dismissing those things that just come naturally to them. Maybe you are a natural communicator. Maybe you are a natural negotiator. Maybe you are naturally gifted when it comes to doing hair or to designing or to encouraging others. I want you to pay attention to what comes naturally to you, because it is there that you will begin to find the very purpose for which God has created you. One of the things I always say is when we pay attention to the natural rhythm of our lives, we will begin to experience the fullness of what God has in store for us. See, if I try to take my love for teaching and my love for encouraging others, and I try to put that in the box of someone else's gifting, then I'm limiting myself. I need to pay attention to what comes naturally to me. You know what, guys? I can be at the grocery store and I'll start talking to the person who's checking me out, and I'll say, listen, I know as you're bagging my groceries, this isn't what you want to do for the rest of your life. What is it that you love? See, that happens naturally for me. My children or my husband start to roll their eyes and they're like, Mommy, stop it. but I can't help it because it literally just happens as I'm engaging in conversation. I want you to think about what comes naturally to you. What happens when you aren't even thinking about it? One of the ways to identify what comes naturally to you is to identify your life theme. I would look back over journals from years and years ago, and somehow, guys, the word intentional would show up in everything I did. So what word or what idea or what concept shows up consistently in your life? Is it the idea of serving others? Do you always find a way to serve somebody? Maybe being a leader has always shown up in your life. You were the kid in kindergarten trying to lead the kids on what they should do. Maybe you're like my sister-in-law who's a natural rebel. She just sees the situation and she's going to find out what's fair. She's going to go against the grain. And now she's finding that that's where her strength lies. I don't know what it is for you, but I want you to tap into what comes naturally to you. Once you acknowledge that, you'll begin to see the path God has laid for you so much clearer. Number 4 is that you must align yourself with people who can guide, support, and encourage you on your journey. I know you know what I'm going to say already. I know I drive all of you crazy with this, but we cannot live on isolation island. Let me tell you something. You will not get to the next level alone. You need people. That statement alone makes some of you cringe, but trust me, we were created to thrive in community. And so you want to intentionally align yourself with people who can guide you, who can support you, and who can encourage you. If you are around people who are speaking against what it is you're called to do, can I tell you something? You need to change your circle today. If you have participated in discouraging somebody else from walking out their purpose, you need to change your conversation today. You need to surround yourself with like-minded people who can help encourage you on your journey. Listen, you want to make sure that the relationship is mutually beneficial. You don't want to be the person always pulling and never pouring. You want to make sure that you're not the person always pouring and never receiving. You want to be in a mutually beneficial relationship. Now, that doesn't mean that it is tit for tat and if I scratch your back, you better scratch mine tomorrow. But you don't want to be in relationships that are totally draining. It's just not healthy for you. It is okay to prioritize your relationships. So you want to align yourself with people who can encourage you, support you, and direct you. There's a critical piece to this that I have to share with you. When we talk about living your life intentionally, it is a very vulnerable process. When you begin to say yes to the call God has on your life, you begin to open yourself up to challenges and fears and frustration, all that stuff. So the people around you are so important. I always say that the people that are close to me, I am going to share all of who I am with you. And if I'm showing all of who I am, I need you to share all of who you are. I want to align myself with people who are willing to be vulnerable with me. And I want you to do the same. Does that make sense? I hope you're really getting this. Okay, so number 3, you're going to acknowledge what comes naturally to you. And then number 4, you're going to align yourself with people who can encourage you on your journey. All right, there you have it. That's number 3 and 4. So just like last week, let me give you your assignment. I want you to take some time to brainstorm. What is it that comes naturally to you that you know you've been dismissing? What is it that people say draws them to you? What are the questions that people are always asking you about? Begin to brainstorm about those things that come naturally to you. And then your next assignment, this is a tough one, but it is time to do a relationship audit. I want you to identify the people you spend the most time with, the people you talk to the most, and I want you to do an honest assessment on those relationships. Are the relationships life-giving? Do you encourage one another? Do you encourage other people? Or is it a relationship where you guys just dog other people, you dismiss other people's dreams, you are catty or messy? If any of that is going on, it doesn't mean you automatically kick those people to the curb, but you give the relationship a reset. And once you hit reset, if the other party isn't willing to get on a new train with you, it may be time to separate a little bit. All right, so those are your 2 assignments. Again, if this video blessed you, share it with your family and friends. Next week, I'm going to share number 5 and number 6 on the 7-part series of living your life intentionally and fully engaged. Stay connected and stay tuned. I love connecting with you guys. I'll talk to you soon.